Hey everyone, welcome to the PCS-Proof Podcast, where we're covering the vital things you need to know to thrive in every season of military life. I'm your host and milspouse fitness expert, Grace Barnick-Damazo, and I encourage you to join me each week as we dive deep into topics like fitness, wellness, and entrepreneurship as a military spouse so that you can maintain your own sense of identity and purpose, conquering every transition with strength and resilience. As we journey together, you can expect uplifting conversations and insights. We'll share some laughs, and you can count on me to keep it real so that together we can become truly PCS-proof. Now let's get into it. Hey, and welcome back to the PCS-Proof Podcast. I'm your host, Grace Barnick-Damazo, certified fitness coach, military spouse, and your go-to expert for building a flexible, sustainable, and PCS-proof fitness routine. Today's episode is a really special one because it is all about you. Over the past few weeks, I've been sharing tips, strategies, and a few stories to just help you get started or to restart your fitness journey in a way that actually fits military life. And today, I'm answering your real-life questions. These questions came in through Instagram, through email and DMs, and I even asked my current coaching members to share some of the big questions that they had when they were just getting started on their own journey. And I just want to say before we jump into the questions that I am so grateful for your honesty and your vulnerability. These questions were so relatable, so insightful, and I know that if you're asking it, there are just so many other women out there who are wondering the same thing, most likely. And in fact, I received a couple duplicate questions or some really similar questions. So even if you don't hear your exact question answered, don't worry, just keep listening. And I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best to answer all of the questions that came in a really efficient way without having to do too much overlap. Also, this is an even more special episode because I have my husband here with me. He's going to help ask all the questions for us. We're on a trip right now, so I thought I would take advantage of his presence and invite him to join me here on the pod. Welcome, Mike. Do you want to take a second to introduce yourself or share anything before we jump into the listener questions?
Thank you for introducing me, Grace, or welcoming me to your podcast. I definitely appreciate it. So, a bit of background for myself. I'm active duty in the military for over 10 plus years. Actually,
10 plus years.
Coming close to actually past the retirement of, I'm basically over 20 years. And on top of that, I've been hustling, doing different side businesses. And from YouTube, real estate, to now the Pokemon card business that you're helping me out. So it's definitely a pleasure to be able to help you out with your podcast. Thank you for asking me.
It's about time. I do a lot of work on the side for your stuff, so it's cool to have you repay the favor and help us out on this side.
All right. Are you ready for me to ask you the questions?
Well, first, do you want to share a little bit about kind of what we're up to this week, where we're at?
Oh, for
what
sure.
We're doing?
So what we're doing, just a little quick vacation up to Hokkaido, Sapporo in particular, one of our favorite spots here in Japan. Definitely just saw a baseball game. Go Nippon Ham Fighters. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say other than all the good food that there's out here in Sapporo, especially Ramen Alley.
Yeah, we came here the first time in 2021. End of 2021, like Christmas time, going into 2022. So that time it was snow heaven. We did some snowmobiling, and I don't know, it just felt like we were in a snow globe then. So now it's kind of cool to be able to come back and it's springtime and just get to experience a whole nother season. And we loved the city the first time we came. And I feel like now we're back. I feel like our love for the city of Sapporo has deepened. Yeah? Do you agree?
Yes, definitely. Look forward to visiting Sapporo some more.
Okay. Well, okay. I'm ready. Are you ready to ask the questions?
Yes.
Okay. Let's dive in.
All right, let's kick things off with some questions about getting started or restarted.
Okay.
So my first question is, where should I start if I've been completely out of routine for more than a year?
So if you've been out of your fitness routine for more than a year, so I'm going to kind of cover this from a couple different angles of questions that I either had submitted or questions that I have heard from women when they're getting started. So maybe you're just getting started because you needed to take some time off due to a pregnancy or due to an injury, or you were just, your life, the stage of your life that you were in just didn't allow for it at the time. My big suggestion to you, and I know I've talked about this before, but I think it's really important to reiterate it, is find the easiest, smallest thing that you can do to get started. Like, everyone thinks that if I'm going to start a fitness routine, I need to go 0 to 100. I need to go all in. I need to work out 5 days a week in order for it to be even worthwhile. But that's not true. The most successful people are the ones who start out at a small, manageable place and then build up from there. And that not only just helps you mentally feel like you're being successful because you're able to succeed at the small things that you're doing and then add on as you're ready, but it also just decreases the burnout rate, and it decreases your risk of injury. I've seen so many women who try and go 0 to 100 and end up pushing too hard, too fast, and have to stop exercising because they ended up experiencing an injury. So my suggestion to you is, what is the smallest thing that you can do that will help you take one step forward, and then do that for a couple of weeks. And when that starts to feel like it is a habit, like it's really easy for you to do, then add on one more step, one extra layer to that, and just continue that process. And I've done that with my clients. When I work with my clients and we're starting out, we start out small and we make sure that they feel successful and they feel empowered. And that just it ends up being a way better way to go. So that would be my suggestion. What's the smallest thing that you can do? The minimum effective dose. I know I've talked about that in the last few weeks. So minimum effective dose, build from there. Cool. How's that sound?
Sounds good. Definitely starting with small steps and then take in those wins. Definitely like that.
Wins, yes. Celebrate the wins.
So for someone, how would they stay motivated when every week looks different with kids, their spouse's schedule? You know, they could have dogs, cats. Consistency doesn't feel realistic to a lot of people.
So this is an important one, because I think that people maybe look at social media a little bit too much, or they look at people who are further along in their fitness journey, and they think that everything they do every week is set in stone, and that is the only way to be successful. But I will say, from my personal experience and the women that I work with, is that's really not the case for most people. Most of us have very widely varying schedules, and no one week looks the same as another. So I just want to put that out there and hold some space for any of you who feel like every single week is different than the next. That is actually the norm, not the exception. With that being said, how do we build consistency when every single week feels like it's wildly different? My suggestion to you is to take the time to sit down and draw out, what would your perfect week look like? So start there. Sit down and look at, don't bring reality into it. Kind of put reality on the shelf for a second and write out, what is your perfect schedule? What would that look like in a perfect world? And then bring a layer of reality back in and look at, okay, so the kid's schedule is going to come in, or my spouse's work schedule is going to come in a little bit. What things, what places could I kind of flex around my schedule to play Tetris and still make it work? And this goes back to knowing, what is the minimum effective dose? What's the smallest thing that you need to do? Those are your big rocks. Those are the things that should be non-negotiables in your schedule. So as an example, if I want to make sure that I work out, or I get two resistance training, 2 strength training sessions in each week, I want to write it in my perfect schedule. But then if I know, for instance, if I know your schedule, you have a duty day or whatever, maybe that frees up some time, maybe that takes away some time. So on those weeks, then I can plug that workout into another slot. So knowing what your minimum effective dose is really important. Knowing what my ideal schedule is, and then being able to kind of play Tetris, that can help. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Am I explaining it okay?
Yeah, you're explaining it perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, like I think that's the best way to go. And then again, don't try and push too much too fast. You are going to be way more successful by doing less more consistently than trying to do too much and being really inconsistent with it. So I think we all get a little bit caught up by that, thinking that I have to do so much, and if I don't do so much, it's not going to work. That's not true.
Awesome. So for this next one, they wrote, every time I leave the house to go to the gym, I feel this huge wave of guilt. Like I should be cleaning, cooking, catching up on errands, or just spending more time with my family. I know working out is important, but it feels selfish sometimes. How do you handle that guilt and actually follow through without feeling bad about it?
This is so relatable. I think from my experience, I know this isn't the same for everyone, but in my professional experience, almost all of the women that I work with are so selfless and think about everyone else around them before they think about themselves. And that's not a bad thing. But I think we can kind of end up running into a little bit of friction because we also have this other side of everyone telling us, like, make time for you, you need to have you time, all that kind of stuff. So it's like this friction of like, well, I feel entitled to have my me time, and yet I feel like I need to take care of everyone and I need to put everyone else's needs in front of my own. So I totally recognize personally, but also professionally, that friction that comes up. One of the things, I think it's a good place to start. We talked about guilt and how guilt is a good way to get something done in the short term, but it's not a good long-term strategy. One of the strategies that you could use as a short-term solution, not a long-term solution, but a short-term solution, is to try and reframe this into how is this going to serve all of the people around me? So how is going to the gym and making time to strengthen myself, to de-stress, to work on my goals, how is that going to serve everyone else around me that maybe I'm feeling a little bit guilty about taking that time for? So again, this is a short-term strategy. Eventually, I think that once you get the ball rolling, it starts to shift and we start to realize that it's okay to take this time, that everyone's okay, everyone's going to be able to manage, I'm still going to be able to get everything I need to done. But just to start with, I think it's really helpful to kind of like flip the switch and start to think about, well, how is this actually going to serve the other people? If I go to the gym, I'm actually going to be more energized. I'm actually going to be less stressed. I'm going to be more productive, more efficient, and that actually is going to serve everyone else. So it is a true statement. We're not trying to be delusional, but I think just changing the channel a little bit can help us reframe it and hopefully for you take a little bit of the guilt down a notch. Is that helpful?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so for people working out and everything, Grace, I understand there's like different logistics that they have to think about. This next question is something in particular for what they have available to them. Mm-hmm. So let me read this to you. I know you talk a lot about body weight workouts and keeping things simple. But I've got to be honest, part of me still feels like I need a gym and heavy weights to actually see results. Can you really build strength and make progress at home with just bands or weights or body weight, or is that just for maintenance? I just want to say I really feel this question as someone that likes to go to the gym, so I'm interested to see what your response is.
The answer is yes, of course. You can still make progress at home with body weight or light weights or resistance bands, like whatever you have around the house. Yes. We could talk about individual situations, but we're just talking about a generality. Of course, eventually I would like you to be lifting some heavier weights. So in my perfect world, I want you to maintain your lean muscles so that you can keep your bones strong, not just now, but decades from now. I would like you to be lifting heavy so that you can help support your hormones if you're getting into your late 30s, 40s, onward. That's really important. So I want to make sure that I state that, because I don't want you to walk away and think, like Grace said, never lift heavy weights. No, I do eventually want you to do that. However, I understand that we don't always have access to those things. So what are you going to be like? What's the better option? What's the lesser evil? Don't work out at all, or do some movements at home with body weight only, with resistance bands, with light weights, with some creative weights that you create around the house. The lesser evil obviously is going to be do the body weight exercises. But more than that, it's important to move your body, period. So even if you feel like you're not progressing, like progressive overload, I'm assuming that this question is coming from someone who knows a little something about strength training. That's the vibe I'm getting from this question. Yes, you might not be getting the progressive overload, but you are still moving your muscles. You are still working on your mobility. You are still activating those muscles. So I think that there's a lot to be said for that. Additionally, using resistance bands or other lightweights are really great for hitting smaller muscle groups that you might not hit when you're doing free weights or barbells or even cables. So there is something to be said for using different tools to achieve the same or to accomplish the same job, to do the same job, using different tools for the same job. So yes, you can. It's not just for maintenance. You can make some progress with using bodyweight exercises, with using resistance bands. It's not just for maintenance, but I would rather you maintain until you get to a place where you are back able to use some heavier weights again. Okay, so yes, it is worthwhile. Use them.
Does it count when I curl our fat cat?
Of course. That's it's a whole nother topic that I could go down, but I think of fitness as kind of like fitness for life, fitness to be able to do anything in life. And we've talked about this before, being able to lift a heavy suitcase, being able to carry a heavy trash bag out from your house because your husband or your spouse or whoever it is isn't able to carry that bag out for you, and you are the one who needs to do it now. So there's something to be said for using everyday activities, everyday movements as a way to improve your fitness, right?
Yeah, definitely. I can see that.
Functionality
of everyday use.
Yes.
So with that being said, obviously working out, be it in the gym or at home, that brings into the next question of energy and nutrition. A lot of times I've seen it in different groups that we've been in, when people ask for I need someone for a personal trainer, and then they go into talking about food. So this next question, it asks, do you follow a specific nutrition plan, or do you recommend one for beginners?
I'm so glad that people ask me that, because it's one of the questions that I get the most from people when we're just getting started. Here's my answer. No, I do not follow a specific nutrition plan, nor do I prescribe them to any of the people that I work with, for a couple different reasons. But the most important reason, and I think the most important reason for anyone who's listening to this, is that they don't work long term. More times than not, they don't work for you long term. What I would suggest for someone who is a beginner is to think about the way that they like to eat, and then we would make tiny tweaks to that to align it more closely to whatever their goal is. So I'm not trying to overhaul your whole eating. It's looking at what is your normal eating type. What do you like to eat? What ways do you like to eat? How many meals do you like to eat a day? What foods do you enjoy? And then we make little tweaks to that in order to get it more aligned with their goals. And that's the plan that's going to work best for them long term. So that's what I care about. I'm not trying to feed you a nutrition plan that's only going to get you to your goals in 6 to 8 weeks, and then you hate it and you don't want to stick to it anytime past that, and it doesn't support your long-term success, right? So no, I do not follow a nutrition plan. No, I do not recommend them for any of the women that I work with. We take a more individualized approach to nutrition and find ultimately the nutrition plan, I guess you could call it, that works best for that individual person.
I like that. Okay. Let's talk about strength training, because it was brought up from one of your listeners. They wrote, "You're always talking about strength training.
Yeah.
But I've always thought cardio was the best for heart health and losing weight. Is lifting really that important? Like, am I missing something if I just stick to running or spin classes?"
This is a good question. No, you're not missing something by going to running or spin classes or, like cardio-based classes. No, but if you're talking specifically about losing weight, you're going to want to lift some weights at some point. And the reason why is I think we get really confused about, I think this happened to me. So I'm speaking when I say we, this was me as well. Thinking about calories burned during a workout versus calories burned throughout the day. And if we're talking about losing weight, you mentioned that in the question, so we're going to talk about this. If your goal is to lose weight, we need to care more about creating an energy deficit, burning more calories throughout the day. If you're trying to lose weight just by cardio or calories burned during a workout, you're going to need to spend the entire day in the gym. None of us have that kind of time. So what's a more efficient way to do this? Putting on some more lean muscle. And so by putting on more lean muscle, you will burn more calories throughout the course of the entire day. Okay, so like if you're using a Fitbit or an Apple Watch to track calories burned, or if you're looking at your treadmill in the gym and it's saying how many calories you burned during your workout, not only is that slightly inaccurate, those are not the most accurate numbers, so I'll start with that there, but also that is less important than how many more calories can I burn throughout the course of the entire day without having to spend hours and hours and hours in the gym every single day. Strength training and putting on more lean muscle is going to be far more efficient and far more effective for you. Additionally, if we're focusing too heavily on cardio as our way to create that energy deficit, we're only looking at calories burned during the workout. So that means that you always have to be doing cardio. You can't stop. You have to continue doing that cardio in order to create that daily calorie deficit. Okay, so you have to think about, like, how much time do you have in your day? Do you have hours and hours every single day to be doing that? And are you never going to stop? Then maybe cardio is okay for you. It's not going to be best for you in terms of your hormones, in terms of your hunger levels, in terms of your, bone density. Those are all other things. But if we're strictly talking about fat loss, and I could talk about this for a really long time, if you couldn't tell, strength training is going to be the most efficient and the most effective for you for your long-term success, meaning that you don't have to spend hours and hours, and you can take a break periodically. You can go on vacation and not have to stress so much about gaining that weight back or hitting a plateau. Hope that helps.
All right, so let's wrap it up with one more question about you, Grace. This comes in as a question because you guys are all in this together, from your clients, your listeners, to people on your email list. So do you ever take breaks from working out, and how do you bounce back?
Yeah, I do. We're currently taking a break. So I'm currently on vacation. I brought some stuff to work out if I felt like it, if we had the time and I had the desire to, because sometimes we do enjoy working out while we're on vacation. But Yes, I do take regular breaks from working out. Even my coaching clients, we have structured rest weeks built into their annual programs so that we really focus on periods of time where they are taking a break and letting their bodies fully repair, fully regenerate, letting their tissues, their tendons and everything just kind of like have a break for a little bit so that they can come back stronger. So that there is something we said, take a little bit of rest so that you can come back a little bit stronger. And I kind of think of it as like an athlete. High level athletes aren't peaking 100% of the time. There's seasonality to it. So there are times where they are taking structured rest time and then they're able to come back even stronger. So I think that mentally, I think it really helps to think of it like that. Like even the highest level athletes in the world take breaks. So why shouldn't we take breaks? But also it has just been shown to be more restorative. So people are getting less injury. They're able to, like, their hormones are better because of it. So just kind of like mentally that helps me to bounce back from it, is to think about that. Like everyone needs to, even the highest level athletes. So yeah.
So how do you bounce back? Like if you on this break right now, like.
I think the easiest thing for me, the thing that works best for me is starting with walks. So if I am finding that I'm having a hard time jumping back into workouts, the thing that I enjoy most is to go for a walk. So I'll take the dog for a walk, or I'll put in my podcast and listen to a podcast and just go for a walk. And I think that helps me to kind of like ease back in if and when I am having a hard time.
Yeah, and then build on top of that.
Absolutely, because once I'm doing that, then I feel good, I feel empowered. Okay, what's the next thing? Add that back on.
Okay.
Also, I think just get the first workout done. So whether it's a walk or a workout, whatever it is, get that first one done as soon as possible, and then that helps to lower the barrier to entry.
Awesome. Yeah, those are all the questions and everything. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Mike. It was fun having you here. Thanks for being the mod. I want to thank you all again for submitting such great questions. I hope that I answered everyone's question that wrote in, and keep the questions coming. I thought this was really fun, and hopefully we can do a few more episodes with some live question and answer, or submit and answer questions. I think that would be really fun because, again, this podcast is for you. So I want to answer the questions that mean the most to you. And if you were nodding along as we were talking through these questions and thinking like, that's me, I totally resonate with that question. Or if you're thinking like, okay, I've got some clarity now, I got some answers, but I need a little bit more structure, then I have something that's going to be perfect for you. It's my free 5-step PCS-Proof Fitness action plan. And it's a workbook, so you can fill it in as you go. It's a workbook designed specifically for military spouses to help you get clear on your goals and get clear on your season of military life and create a routine that fits your life and the current season that you're in. You can grab it right now, completely free, at fitpathcoaching.com, or you can just click the link in the show notes. Of course, I'll always leave it in the show notes. It's a quick workbook to go through. It won't take you that long. It's not overwhelming. And it's just really designed to help you take action and to give you real momentum right now. I hope you come back and join me for next week, because we're going to be talking about something that impacts literally every single woman that I work with, and that is nutrition. We touched a little bit on it today, but I really want to dedicate an entire episode to it, but not in a way that's like count every single almond or measure everything that goes in your mouth kind of way. So in week 6, I'm going to be breaking down 3 nutrition shifts that matter the most to military spouses, especially if you're maybe over 30 and want to feel strong and energized and not constantly confused or overwhelmed by all of the conflicting nutrition advice that's out there. So make sure that you're subscribed if you're not already, and even share this episode with a fellow military spouse who is maybe in the middle of a really messy period of time and they're just trying to figure it all out and they need a little bit of a nudge to help them get started on their own journey. I will look forward to seeing you next week right back here. And until then, remember, no matter where in the world military life sends you, together we are PCS-Proof. Adios! And here is the legal language. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to replace professional advice. The views expressed in this podcast may not be those of the host or fitpathcoaching.com. Moreover, we are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from the use of this podcast.